Ever tossed out a what if,
Yeah.
gotten a response that like totally threw you for a loop?
Mm-hmm.
Today we're taking a deep dive into those kind of head-scratching moments,
Mm.
but with like a focus on understanding how individuals with autism might process hypotheticals differently. And
Yeah.
trust me, it's way more insightful than you might expect.
Absolutely. We often don't realize how much goes into understanding those what if scenarios. Things like reading social cues, predicting emotions, and juggling abstract ideas. These can be tricky for anyone, but they can be particularly challenging for individuals with autism.
So true. We're so used to those imagine-if scenarios,
Yeah.
but they require a pretty big leap from like concrete reality, don't they?
Exactly. That's where things can get interesting. For someone who leans towards concrete thinking, which is common among individuals with autism, that leap can be a real hurdle. It's not as simple as just picturing something different. It's about understanding the nuances of a situation that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that before.
Right.
It's like asking someone to build a house without giving them all the materials and expecting them to just like intuitively know what to do.
That's a great analogy, and it highlights why understanding these differences is so crucial for effective communication.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. We're talking about hypotheticals, which already require some mental gymnastics. But for individuals with autism, there's an added layer of complexity. Can you walk us through some of those specific challenges?
Absolutely. Let's take the example of understanding social cues within a hypothetical situation. Imagine you're trying to figure out how someone might react if you were to, say, decline their invitation. Most of us rely on past experiences, social scripts, and nonverbal cues to make those predictions. But for someone who processes those cues differently, it can feel like trying to read a language they're only partially familiar with.
That makes total sense. It's like everyone else is privy to some secret rule book, and they're left trying to decipher the code.
Precisely. And this is where executive functioning comes in, those mental processes that help us plan, adapt, and switch between tasks. Think of it like your brain's management team, helping you stay organized and focused. For some individuals with autism, this management team might work a bit differently, making it even harder to juggle the demands of hypothetical situations.
So it's not just about picturing the what if itself. It's about navigating a whole network of social understanding and mental flexibility at the same time.
Right.
No wonder it can feel overwhelming.
Exactly. And that's why simply knowing that these differences exist is a huge step towards better communication.
Okay.
It's not about expecting someone to change how their brain works, but rather meeting them where they are.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do we actually do that? Where do we even begin?
Well, clarity is a fantastic starting point. Instead of using vague language, idioms, or figures of speech, try opting for simple, direct language that clearly explains the hypothetical scenario.
So ditch the jargon and cut to the chase.
Exactly.
I like it. What else?
Visuals can be game changers. Think charts, diagrams, even simple sketches on a whiteboard.
Uh-huh.
Anything that can turn those abstract what-ifs into something more tangible and concrete can make a huge difference.
So you're taking those abstract ideas and turning them into something you can actually see.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. And what about breaking down those complex scenarios into smaller steps? It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Instead of hitting someone with a complicated, multi-layered hypothetical all at once, try breaking it down into smaller, more digestible chunks.
Okay.
This gives them a chance to process each part and follow along more easily.
This is starting to sound less like communication obstacles and more like a toolbox of practical tips. I'm really starting to see how these small shifts can make a big difference.
They absolutely can. And it's not just about simplifying things either. There are ways to make exploring hypotheticals more engaging too. One powerful approach is to connect those what-ifs to real-life experiences. Instead of just saying, imagine if,
Yeah.
you can try something like, remember that time when X happened? What if Y had happened instead?
So grounding those what ifs in something relatable, something that already has meaning for that individual.
Right.
That's amazing. It's like building a bridge between the abstract and the familiar.
Precisely. This approach helps to make those hypotheticals feel less like a mental hurdle and more like a natural extension of their own experiences.
This is making me think about how we often use playful what-if scenarios with kids, like those choose-your-own-adventure books we all loved growing up. Could that kind of approach be helpful here, too?
Absolutely. It's all about finding ways to make exploring hypotheticals fun and engaging rather than stressful or overwhelming.
I love that. It's like taking the pressure off of finding the right answer.
Yeah.
and instead just focusing on exploration and creativity.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a good what-if story?
Exactly. And those stories can be a powerful tool for building understanding and connection. When we take the time to really listen to how someone else processes information, to see the world through their eyes, even for a moment, it opens up a whole new level of empathy and appreciation for the beautiful diversity of human experience.
This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. I'm walking away with so much more than just facts about hypotheticals. It's about understanding connection and respecting the unique ways our brains work.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about recognizing that there's no one right way to think or process information, and that those differences are something to be celebrated.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up for our listeners, next time you find yourself facing a head-scratching response to a hypothetical, remember what we talked about today. Take a breath, step back from those initial assumptions, and remember that the way someone processes those what-ifs might be different from yours. A little empathy and a willingness to meet someone where they are can make all the difference in the world.
Couldn't agree more. Every interaction is a chance to learn, grow, and connect on a deeper level.
So true. Until next time, keep those imaginations curious, those conversations flowing, and remember, a little understanding goes a long way.